All right, everybody. Welcome back to Three Guys, One Music. I'm Jamey. I'm here with Mike and Grant, as always. Hello, guys. What is happening? Happy post-weekend, I guess.
Thank you, sir.
Nobody knows when we tape. I shouldn't say that.
Happy Thursday night.
Yes, Thursday night. Yeah. We're going to be talking about rock and roll movies tonight.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
Devil's music.
Loosely based on rock and roll. Maybe not loosely based. Mostly based on rock and roll. Maybe more accurate. But as always, we'll get started with what we've been listening to this past week. I will go first. Here we go. All right. I've been listening to I always feel a little bit intimidated by you two because you guys are so yes. You guys are so forward thinking and modern, much more than I am. And I try to justify, I was going to say explain, but justify why I listen to a lot of stuff I listen to. And it's multifaceted, but you know, I've been buying vintage amps and speakers, and I'm fascinated with the certain tone that bands got back in, I don't know, the early 70s and the 70s period. It's just, those things aren't made anymore. And modern components don't sound the same. And I've been on this journey to try to get that sound, a lot of those sounds. And I've been successful largely. But this week I've been listening to Alice Cooper's Muscle of Love record from 1973. And another reason why I really enjoy that record is it's not well thought of, I think, by the masses, but it's like a band falling apart. They were really, really fragmented as a band. And I don't even think the drummer and Glenn Buxton, the other guitar player, played on that record much at all, if any. Glenn Buxton, I don't think, played on it at all. And but the songs are good. You know, I mean, mostly. And so I've been really enjoying that, and the guitar tones. I've been really enjoying listening to that. And I've been listening to Foo Fighters' debut from 95.
Oh, it's a great album.
Really enjoy that record. I enjoyed it when it came out. And I've been, you know, actually, the reason I went back to listen to it was because I had never heard this. And I almost wondered if it was real, but I think it is real. But Nirvana recorded 3 or 4 of those songs with Kurt Cobain singing, like Exhausted and Alone and Easy Target. Now, they were named different. They had different titles, but he sang those songs. And it unless AI is involved in it, which I don't think it is, I think it's legit. They demoed these songs, you know, and I just thought, wow, I've never heard that all these years.
I haven't
You
either.
know, it was, yeah. So, you know, I'll see if I can find the link. I'll send it to you guys, but it's
I
interesting.
saw that tour for that album. We saw their first tour.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
At the Ritz in Raleigh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. I've never seen Dave Grohl live. You know, I mean, I would have, I missed the boat. I kind of got into Nirvana. I remember hearing a soundbite of Smells Like Teen Spirit about the same month that the record came out and thought, well, that sounds interesting, but it wasn't enough for me to go, yeah, it's found fantastic. I've found my new thing. You know, there was a lot of good stuff out there. I was, you know, Smashing Pumpkins and Soundgarden, a lot of great things. So
that was a great time for music. Well,
it was really fertile, wasn't it? You know, but after a few months, it was obvious that something was happening, you know, and Come As You Are came out, and then, you know, that record really took off, I think. And I realized that it was something unique, you know, but, you know, when the next record, In Utero, came out, I started really appreciating that was completely different production values, and I really enjoyed that rawness. That whole era 92 and 93, I really remember paying attention to guitar tones and production values that I hadn't prior to that. Everything was so slick, you
Yeah.
know, and even Nevermind is really slick compared to, In Utero for sure.
Oh yeah,
But
I've read stories of where Butch was saying it was like pulling teeth to get Kurt to double track a vocal, and
Yeah.
Kurt was like, "Nah." And then the opposite with Albini with In Utero, like you said, it's just much rawer sound and
yeah,
stuff, you know.
yeah, but both great records. Both, I mean, really good songwriting. I think they've stood the test of time. But yeah, the first Foo Fighters record is just it's one of my favorites from them. And I've been listening to the Who's Ultimate Collection that came out, I don't know, 10 years ago. So it's a good collection of songs, and they've got about 100 different greatest hits, but that's a good collection. And I bought a Sound City amp a few weeks ago. It's kind of high wattage, and I've been in love with that amp recently. And
You bought an amp? This is the first time hearing of you buying amps.
I actually bought another one yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
This is another intervention.
Yeah. Well, our old friend Scott Pugh's to blame for that. So Scott, if you hear this, you're to blame.
So
He
what you bought
texted me.
yesterday?
Well, it's actually the third amp. It's the third of this particular model that I have. It's a PRS HDR X20. But this one's going to stay stock. The other two have been modded by Dave Friedman. This one's going to stay stock because I love the way they stock amps sound. But it was such a good price, I had to buy it. And
You need
he
at least
said,
one good stock amp.
"Yeah, I don't have any stock amps." Yeah, that one will be the only one that's stock. All of my amps are modded, but they're beautiful as they are. Yeah, so I've been listening to a lot of different stuff, but those three stick out. So I'm
Nice.
enjoying that a lot. How about you guys?
Next week he's going to sell all those amps and have just have the Roland Jazz Chorus.
Gotcha.
That'll be his signature sound.
That is not going to happen.
No, you sure?
Oh, that's cool. It's just not my thing. That's cool.
I went the opposite way. Then you went, well, you sort of went back, but you forward. I went way back. I listened to mostly Nina Simone this past
Love
2
it.
weeks for me. Yeah, just I got on a chair, as they say, and just went way back. Now with streaming, it's so easy. You don't have to like dig out albums and dig out CDs. It's just like, and you can listen to it anywhere now, with how digital is. And I probably listened to overwhelmingly number of like 150 songs or something, just deep dive,
Wow.
dive. And just amazing, just amazing.
I've got several of her tracks. I wouldn't say I've got any complete records, but isn't she originally from North Carolina?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Thank you.
And and there's I've been listening to a lot of, she's got a lot of instrumental tracks because she was a very well-trained pianist.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people only know her for her voice and don't realize that, she's playing that piano or whatever. And they'll hear a track. They'll hear a Nina Simone track with no vocals, and they're like, "Well, this is great."
Wow.
But what? And I'm like, "She's playing the piano. You hear all those tasty licks on the piano and all those modal chords. Come on now."
That's interesting to me that people wouldn't put that together, that she's playing the piano. That just seems, I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at through a different filter, but that just seems obvious to me.
Yeah.
That is interesting. I just want to touch on that.
Several people, they were like, "What? She played the piano?" I was like, "Yes, she tried to go to I forget what music school it was, but she didn't get accepted, and ended up going somewhere else, and then started gigging and singing to make money or whatever."
Right.
And but yeah, she's basically classically trained. I mean, she was trying to get into the Juilliard type school, stuff like that.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for her. I just want to say this for a second. I don't want to go off too deep a tangent, but I'm sure we all have had this, and it's no criticism. It's just interesting to me because I just don't think about it. I take it for granted, but sometimes I lose sight of what we know, what we're aware of, and what your average person is not, or either doesn't care. But I remember one time being with a friend, and we were driving around and we were listening to Snowbound by Genesis off 3. And then there were 3. And he goes, "Oh yeah, that's a Phil Collins song." I was like, "That's not a Phil Collins song. It's Genesis." And to me, it was almost like, "What?" But it kind of, and then just maybe, I don't know, a couple of years later, we're playing I was in a little bar playing a Roxanne, and then the guy said, "Yeah, I heard that Sting song," and I was like, "What? Sting? That's the Police." And it's just these, this other person that said that about the Police was into hip hop. It wasn't really into rock, so it was really unimportant to
Yeah,
this
well, that's
individual.
forgivable if someone's not really into that genre
Yeah,
at all. You know, okay,
yeah.
well, at least you recognize the voice. You know, points.
But I think it's just some. I don't know what the right way to put it is, a wake up call. That's not even accurate, but it's interesting to realize that other people don't have the same awareness that you do, or care for that matter.
Yeah.
I was going to say some people don't.
You
If they
know,
like it, they like it. And they don't care what amp it came out of, or what
Yeah.
symbol it was, or what studio it was
right?
recorded at, or anything. They just
But
like it.
I think there's some. I think your average person, they just, we've talked about this before. They just do not have. I don't think they can appreciate the deep appreciation that we three, amongst, you know millions of others that also share the passion that we do. But your average person just is not, they're indifferent.
Yeah.
Or, they just don't understand. And sometimes it's hard for me to, I struggle with that sometimes. I'm like, I don't understand how you can't be in love with this, but
Well, a lot of people, it's enough to appreciate the song at face value.
Yeah.
yeah,
They don't do much more.
that's asking a lot sometimes. Just
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Anyway, that's my
So,
tangent.
yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. But yeah, all Nina Simone all the time.
Yeah, tremendous artist.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I too went back to listen to not too far back, but I think a few weeks ago I mentioned They Might Be Giants, and I decided to look at their catalog again or listen to their catalog. Fun stuff, clever music, well written, tongue in cheek, almost everything. And I listened to them before, but once the kids were born, looking for some appropriate music to listen to in the car. So There Might Be Giants was fun that everybody could listen to, whether it's Istanbul and Constantinople. It's a mouthful, a lot of syllables, a lot of consonants in there. Particle Man, songs like that. It's a lot of fun to revisit that.
Yeah.
Someone else I decided to listen to this weekend. So I worked Saturday. I was all alone and play whatever I want. So I put on Licky Lee, which is a Swedish vocalist,
I've heard of her.
and she's extraordinary. I love her. The better album is Wounded Rhymes. It's just a super solid album all the way through. Ethereal, mysterious, romantic, a little sexy. There's a lot going on in there. A lot of different styles of music, but she has that just kind of a haunting voice if you really listen to it. Yeah, that's about it. Licky Lee and They Might Be Giants. I highly recommend checking out both if you're not familiar with them.
It's interesting how different we all generally take our listening. I would say I'm much more predictable, and I'm fine with that. I'd say, Grant, you're the least predictable. For
No,
me.
I don't know about that.
No. Mike is in a certain. I think I can predict where he's going, which is a good thing. It's challenging to me. In a good way.
Yeah.
But it's I expect Mike to
Yeah, I see what you're
listen
saying.
to art. But I never know where you're going, Grant. You could be listening to Van Halen or to Queensryche or to Dream Theater or to Nina Simone, and that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I'm much more predictable.
Like we've mentioned previously that there's people that say they love music, but they only love one style or one whatever music. Whereas we all love there's any genre of music anywhere in the world. There's something we can find that we listen to, and we want to listen to it. Not just like we only listen to American music or we only listen to heavy metal, but we listen the whole world of music.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be self-deprecating. I I like a lot of different styles of music and a lot of different artists, but when I'm put, my back against the wall, I've got a certain area that I'm going to kind of concentrate on, and it's going to be guitar based generally, you know. But yeah, like a couple weeks ago, I was really listening to a lot of Frank Sinatra and just really enjoying that. So yeah, that always it's good to branch out and listen to these different things. Sometimes it really, yeah, it's good. Well, we didn't discuss this prior to starting, but I was thinking that with our topic, which is going to be rock and roll movies, that we do 5, 5, and 5.
Sure.
That sound good to you guys?
Yeah,
10.
you can do that.
10.
Do you have 10?
Yeah.
I have 10. I have 10. I didn't know
I
if
have
I had
10.
Okay.
I'm sure we're going to overlap in some of them. I mean,
Yeah, I would expect that. Yeah.
I tried to pick some stuff that hopefully no one else has picked. But we'll see.
Yeah, I doubt that I'm gonna. There might be one choice that I have that you guys don't, but it's okay. These have to be authentic, and these are authentic to my experiences. So, do you guys want to go first? Anybody want to go first?
I'll go first.
All righty.
Since I missed one, I'll go first. Catch back up. All righty. I'm going to start with the most obvious, well, maybe the second most obvious rock and roll / musical movie. This is Spinal Tap.
I thought you were going to say Mahogany, but we'll get to that one.
If anyone out there listening to this, watching this, has not seen, most people call it Spinal Tap, but this is Spinal Tap. But whatever you want to call it, go watch it. It's amazing. If you like music, if you like comedy, if you like what else would you say about that movie? Crazy songs with crazy lyrics, and actors doing a fine job actually playing and singing as musicians. Go check it out. You'll recognize.
And they wrote these songs.
Yeah, and you'll recognize some actors from now when they were really young. But yeah, there's nothing else. That's amazing.
Michael McKean, David St. Hubbins, Christopher Guest, Nigel Tufnell, Harry Shearer.
Oh, what's his name? Oh, crap.
Derek St. Smalls. Right?
Yeah.
Derek Smalls, Derek St. Smalls.
I can't remember.
Maybe Derek Smalls. But
and then the drummer,
Rob Reiner film, host of special, cameos.
Yeah.
Fran Drescher, Dana Carvey.
Yeah.
A lot of people. So
Paul Schaefer?
Fun movie.
Yeah, Paul Schaefer.
Paul Schaefer, yeah. He was Hart. Who was he? Artie Rifkin.
Yes, Artie.
Character, I think. And these were all based on real people. I mean, this movie really did stick it in the chest of the industry. These are all based on actual people.
Yeah, people that took themselves
events
a little seriously.
And is Michael McKean not the king of music movies because he's in that? He's in A Mighty Wind, several different movies like that. But I like to go to the music store, and when I try out a new bass, always play Big Bottom really loud.
Nice.
See who notices, who recognizes it.
Jazz Odyssey. We got to play Jazz Odyssey.
It's got a swing to it.
Yeah, that's an amazing movie. All right, next.
I think I have that record. I bought that record.
Oh yeah,
wow. Yeah,
nice.
I have it.
I regret not seeing that in the theater. I somehow missed that in the theater.
Yeah,
I saw it on HBO for the first time.
That's probably where I saw it as well.
I remember watching that with one of our high school friends. I won't mention him. He did not get it at all.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of those. It was one of our friends that he was like, "What is this?"
Now I want to know.
Get it at all. I'll tell you I'll tell you after we record. Yeah.
All right. Next is a little known movie from '87, starring everyone's favorite Michael J. Fox, Joan Jett, and Gina Rowlands for some actual star power. A movie called Light of Day, which and Bruce Springsteen wrote the actual song Light of Day that they perform as their band.
Right.
Yeah. And I just think that is a solid, just a movie about everyday people trying to get
Yeah.
through life and make music and have a band and deal with all the crap that goes on with life and people's personalities and that kind of stuff.
Not an uplifting movie.
Not
in
at
a lot
all.
of ways. A bit depressing, but yes, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the song.
Yeah.
That song is hard to find. She's got it on one of her collections, but iTunes, I went on as I've mentioned before, the insanity of my iTunes collection. I couldn't find this in any digital form. So I had to buy the greatest hits that she has. And I have that. I really do think that is one of her best songs.
Oh yeah.
I really like that a lot.
Yeah.
So,
but I love that movie. Just a simple movie, but I love that movie.
I've forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Next, I'm going to go with a documentary from everyone's favorite band out of Boston, or at least Massachusetts, Aerosmith. They did a documentary, The Making of Pump. And if you want to listen to all the songs from that album, they're not on there. This is all studio. And as musicians, that's the holy grail of
love
music.
The fact that they should have titled this, if you want to hear songs from our record, this ain't it.
Yeah. But I've heard people
don't watch it.
Have watched it and been like, well, they didn't play any of the songs. I was like, it's the making of. It's not the performance of. It's not the album. But anyway,
only musicians would love that, though. Your average person is like, what is this?
Exactly.
Musicians love it.
It's a fantastic look into making and writing and recording an album. And
I have seen it. It's good.
It's very raw and it just is what it is. It's just musicians in the studio making music, and it's just awesome. And I'll always love that movie.
Yeah.
And it's a shame about Steven Tyler's voice. So hopefully they can make more music, but like you said, they can't tour anymore. So that sucks, but at least they didn't say he could never sing anymore. So they might make some new music one day. All right. Next is a sort of, I guess it is a documentary again. I'm going to put two documentaries back to back. I'm Trying to Break Your Heart, a film about Wilco.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's really good.
Yes, that's amazing. And that was their recording of the Yankee Hotel Foxtrot album and their inner conflict and a kicking one member out of the band and all that
hard
went
to
on.
watch. It's hard to watch. That movie is again not uplifting.
Yeah,
it's really real.
It's super real because it's real.
Yeah, it's real.
That has a band member injecting heroin, right? Is that seen in that movie?
Can't
Or
remember.
am I thinking of a different one?
I've not seen it in so long. I thought about it. And said, I've really not watched this in so long.
I think that's the movie where he does it for the camera. He's like talking about, giving the play-by-play.
I can't remember, but yes,
it may be
like
a different
said,
movie. I'm not sure.
It's either way. I mean, with them throwing Jay Bennett out of the band and everything, it's definitely a real and that's a real look into the how musicians coexist together and
dynamics between human beings while they're being creative, which is extremely taxing on one's psyche. That's how I view that movie. They're both struggling to get their vision, and Jay Bennett, if I can just interject, Jay Bennett was an incredibly important band member, and I think for him, he saw himself as an equal to Jeff Tweedy, that they were co-partners, and Jeff Tweedy, and I may be creating something here, my own, fantasy or whatever, but I think that Jeff Tweedy just said, no, you're not my equal, or their visions were just very different at that point. Who knows?
Yeah, I got that. I feel the same. I got that impression from watching that he just wanted not complete control, but he wanted to be the main writer and be, for lack of a better word or better phrase, to be in charge as the main writer. And I see that. I mean, he just didn't want to share the writing responsibilities as an equal. Like, Jay was his equal as a writer. They co-wrote stuff, but then they also wrote stuff independent of one another that were both equally great songs. And I
Yeah.
just think Jeff wanted his vision, and the other band members stood behind him, and that's just the way
Yeah.
it shook out. I mean,
And it's a shame, because we've talked about it. Jay Bennett, a little bit. Jay Bennett was a really talented guy, and I don't know what demons that guy had,
yeah,
but health problems, uh, mental stability at a certain point, or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to coexist with human beings whenever you're in a band. No
Yeah.
matter how talented you are. And if you're not getting along and you're not really being productive, then nobody can stand being around you. That's just not
that's the
going to
main
work.
thing. If you're not being productive, or you're just being a super jerk, then
Yeah.
you can forgive some things if you're putting the goods out, but if you're not, then I can see it. But
I feel like I'm being called out.
Ego is important, but not letting your ego get out of control is more important. And
Yeah.
because you got to have confidence in yourself, but you don't want to be so confident you alienate everyone.
Well, I'll just say briefly, and I've said this before. I saw Jay Bennett play live with Wilco one time, and it was, in my opinion, he was the star of that night. He was most definitely the most talented person on that stage that night.
Yeah.
And he was a really talented guy. And he had a fantastic guitar sound, still one of the best guitar sounds I ever heard. He was playing a Fender and a Vox together, and a Gibson SG. And it was just fantastic. It was just so good. It was one of the best live presentations I think I've ever encountered. And completely unexpected. I had no idea who Wilco were. I'd never heard of them.
Wow.
They opened up for the Jayhawks. I went to
Yeah.
go see the Jayhawks. And Wilco were fantastic. I went out immediately, bought AM. I
Yeah.
thought, well, this is great. And AM it wasn't even close to being what the live,
Oh yeah.
experience was. I was pretty disappointed. And I've been disappointed with many bands after seeing them live and buying the record. I'm like,
Yeah.
this isn't good. But yeah, they were fantastic. So Jay Bennett was, if I had never seen him live, I don't know that I'd have the same opinion of him, but he was really a talented guy.
Oh yeah.
And,
Definitely.
yeah. So yeah, that is a interesting movie, and it's pretty dark.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna have to lighten up my choices here. All right, my fifth.
There was no hidden meaning in that.
I know. I'm just saying. I didn't even know. You point some things out sometimes in my list that I don't even realize, and I'm like, oh wow, that's again a new perspective.
We're just going to use that as a segue to something happier.
Yeah. All right. For my fifth one here, before we rotate, everyone's favorite, the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yes.
That's really good.
Yeah. And I thought
Fun.
for sure, and weird, and whatever. But it's just cool, and that's the longest running movie still in theaters in history, because as of this year, it is still being shown in movie theaters. 49 years.
Yeah. I've never seen that in the theater.
Really? Oh, really?
I've never
seen
went
it 3
to
times at the midnight show.
Oh wow!
I saw
I've never done that.
Carolina Circle Mall.
Yeah.
And they used to show it there. That's
Should I go this year on the 49th or wait till the 50th anniversary to go?
You should. Well, you say that and say I'll wait till the 50th, and suddenly no one's showing it this year. But
I may not even be around in 50. I better not wait.
Yeah.
I've got it on Blu-ray with the lyrics in there. So if you want to learn the songs before you go, you can borrow that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is weird to show up at the movie theater and they check to make sure you're not carrying any contraband, and then they let you go in with newspaper and toast.
Yeah, or hot dogs.
Yeah.
I can't remember all the people.
I didn't see hot dogs. I took a newspaper and toast with me the second time I went.
It was like you were just the one I saw. It was people were into it, and they were like, "Okay, I'm gonna get a smorgasbord of food here if I can hold my hands up." But it was crazy. I was like, I can only imagine the cleanup after this show.
Oh yeah, gosh!
It just makes me want to pronounce Frankfurter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to say Frankfurter around. Yeah.
But, anyway, that's I thought I'd throw that in there because it is it's a musical movie, and it's definitely rock and roll.
And those
with that
songs
attitude,
are
and,
great.
yeah, those songs are so much fun to sing along with.
They are
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
That is a fun movie.
damn it,
Yeah.
Janet.
That's right. Hey, and actually, the soundtrack, or not I don't know how many years ago this came out, maybe 10 years ago, but there's well, not a lot, but there's like 3 or 4 songs that were not included in the soundtrack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you can give me a second, I'll tell you what they are.
That's usually due
Oh,
to some weird copyright stuff.
Sorry, I can't do that on this computer. I have a different computer with my
Oh,
library on it. Sword of Damocles is one of the songs that was not included in the movie, but that's on this collection, and it's a good song. And there's I want to say 3 songs that weren't included, and they're equally as good as anything that was on this, the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So and they remastered these, so they're really good. They sound really good. But yeah, that's I'll have to see if I can send you guys a link of that. But they're good songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And who was Riff? Who was the guy that played Richard O'Brien? He's the one that wrote most of the songs.
Yes.
Time Warp.
I think it's Richard. It's definitely O'Brien's last name. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Richard O'Brien. But anyway, yeah, very cool choice. I like it.
Right. Cool.
Who's up next?
You go next, Mike.
I'll go next. All right. Rock and roll movies are kind of like time travel movies, it seems. It never ends well. There's a lot of heartbreak and horrible things that happen in rock and roll movies.
I think I covered that already.
Yeah, the first one I'm going to bring us back. First one I'm going to talk about is Breaking Glass from 1980.
Oh, wow.
Hazel O'Connor. You probably saw it on Night Flight on USA Network in the early 80s. It was played again and again. A typical story from the early 80s. You've got a talented singer who's not really going anywhere, promoter who is looking for someone to make him famous. He promotes her, and her rebellious nature gets her into all kinds of trouble because she refuses to sell out. Finally gets the attention of the record companies. Her promoter boyfriend is kicked out of the picture, and she sells out at the final moment at the big concert. And it's during the recession of the 80s, which happened in England too. So there's a lot of upheaval and a lot of emotions going on. In the movie, she confronts Nazis twice in different situations and, stands up to them. But it's a really good movie, really good singing, really good songs from Hazel O'Connor. Songs like Will You and Eighth Day. I just found out recently, like looking into this, that the American preview audience didn't like the ending because it ends after she does this big show and she's, hits the big time. She immediately has an emotional breakdown and ends up in a mental ward. So they just ended it right after the concert. And that's the one I remember. But excellent performances, kind of dated, slow in spots, but certainly worth a look. If you want to see what the 80s was in the big city, like London, that's kind of what it was. It's a good time capsule. Another film kind of in that same vein is Ladies and Gentlemen, The Fabulous Stains from 1982.
On my
Diane
list.
Lane and Laura Dern.
That is a phenomenal movie. Love it.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I'll disagree. It's not a good movie, but it is. It does bring back good memories.
Yes. It's
Diane Lane's character is working a dead-end job during the recession, and news reporters come around to ask her questions, and she's very glib, and the audience loves it. So they go back to her and to interview her again, and she drops that she's got a garage band. That starts the ball rolling. She and her garage band hit the stage, opening up for another band, and they're terrible. They have no talent. All the men in the audience are like, boo, you stink. And all the women see them as feminist empowerment. So she takes off with a ready fan base and is just a terrible person. And they end up at the end being successful with a song that she stole from her boyfriend in the other band. So not the happiest story, but it's got that early '80s punk rock feel, even though it was a bit dated at the time. '82, it was a bit anachronistic at the time when it came out, but still a good performance by Diane Lane and Laura Dern as very young actors.
Steve Jones was strung out on heroin during that filming.
Who was that?
During that period. Steve Jones was strung out on heroin during that period of time, and not a happy guy.
Yeah.
And that movie was filmed, I wouldn't say largely in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And that's also where All the Right Moves was filmed. And that's just a depressing area. No offense to anybody that lives in Johnstown.
Yeah.
It's in a little valley.
Yeah.
It's the weather there's not good. And it's just a dark, steel town, or used to be. And it's just really it's depressing, anytime that I've been there. So that backdrop was perfect for it. Just working class, blue collar. Yeah. They did.
I forgot about that, but Jones was in that movie.
Yeah. Well, he wrote the song. He wrote the great song,
The Professionals.
Yeah, to me, that song is fantastic.
It really is. It's great.
Yeah, the Professionals, the band released those songs later in their real form, and I bought that on iTunes. It's a great collection. There's really a lot of good songs on that record.
Yeah. Well, the next one is pretty tongue-in-cheek, and I love it. It's a great film, Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Yeah.
From 2001. John Cameron, I think, produced, at least directed it, and starred in it. John Cameron plays Hedwig, who his boyfriend convinces him to have gender reassignment surgery so he can leave East Germany. And they go to a terrible doctor, and he botches the operation. His boyfriend leaves, and he's, mutilated and doesn't know what to do with himself. So he leaves for America and tours the club scene as best they can as Hedwig. And the jokes in there are just priceless. I think of two, but I can't mention that on this family channel. But the songs are great too. The songs are really good, and the performances. It's just a funny movie, a bittersweet movie. Just really somehow it is empowering to an extent if you're one of those lost and lonely people who are looking to find yourself. It's a really good movie.
Yeah. Is that your 5 choices?
That's three, man.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Stop crowding me.
The pause there was like, okay, I'm not counting. Sorry.
All You Need Is Cash, 1978. The Ruddles. I love it. Oh my gosh.
All you need is cash.
Before Spinal Tap, members of Monty Python got together and did a parody of the Beatles, and it was amazing. I love it. I can't hear the Beatles Get Back without instead singing Get Up and Go. It's just so much fun. And there's so many cameos in that film. George Harrison is in it. Bianca and Mick Jagger. Who else is in it? Paul Simon makes a cameo. Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, John Belushi, Gilda Radner. There's a lot of faces in that movie. But beyond that, just the silliness of the songs and the really well done parodies of Beatles songs. It's a lot of fun. And that was a TV movie. I didn't realize it was a TV movie. Yeah, that was for British television.
Wow.
And I, again, saw it on Night Flight on USA Network in the 80s. But, The Ruddles is a lot of fun.
I want to say George Harrison was producing films at the time, and I think he was one of the backers of that movie. He was definitely one of the backers for Life of Brian.
Yeah.
The Python movie. So I think he was involved in that financially to some extent. So it may have been why his involvement was there.
Yeah. And for my fifth one, another downer, Control. It's a movie called Control from 2007. It's the story of Ian Curtis from Joy Division.
Oh, yeah.
And Ian Curtis suffered from depression, and it didn't help when he learned he had epilepsy, which he tried to keep hidden to an extent. Really difficult life, doing all the wrong things to compensate or trying at least control his life.
Right.
But very talented, very tortured artist, and of course took his life right before they toured the U.S. for their second album, I believe. But Control is a very well done biopic. You get to see it's mainly Ian Curtis. You don't see there are performances by the band as Joy Division, but
Right.
you really follow Ian Curtis exclusively. And heartbreaking movie, but very powerful, very well done. And the band actually, what I read, the band actually performed the songs themselves.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in soundtracks, that one's got a great soundtrack. Not just the Joy Division songs, but songs by Iggy Pop, David Bowie,
Around that time, yeah.
the Velvet Underground. Who else is on there? I don't know. Lots of good music in that film. But yeah,
Right.
Excellent film. Shot in black and white. Is very moody. You are forewarned. It will. It is a tearjerker. It's a heavy film, but really,
Right.
really well done.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't say that any of my movies are particularly dark, but these movies all hold different elements of what we want to, see at the moment or whatever. Mine are, I don't know. Most of mine are pretty. I don't know. We'll see here. My first choice is I didn't make any sense there. Okay. My first choice is Rock and Roll High School by the Ramones. And I saw that in the summer of 1982 for the first time. I think that came out in 79. And I saw it on Cinemax, I want to say. And I just really, that was really the first time I remember hearing the Ramones, honestly. I don't think I heard the Ramones prior to that.
It's probably a lot of people's first time hearing them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Well, I mean, for me in 82, they had been around for 6 years. I don't remember ever listening to the Ramones, or there was nobody around me in my circles that listened to the Ramones. So to me, that was the first time I'd heard all these songs. And it's a fun movie, and it's totally tongue in cheek and ridiculous, but it's just a lot of fun. And those songs I think are great. And there's a ton of their catalog in that movie, of course.
Yeah.
And I think that show was it's filmed at the Roxy in West Hollywood, and the live performances. And I think that's on one of the re-releases, remasters, that show.
Oh,
I
the show,
think.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's right. And I'm gonna try to skip Spinal Tap. It's on my list, but I've got another option. I'm gonna try
Okay,
not
before
to
we
discuss.
move on, Rock and Roll
Yeah.
High School. If I remember the story right, producer or filmmaker went to Roger Corman and said, "I've got a school to blow up. What do we do with that?" And they went around and came up with Rock and Roll High School. And Cheap Trick was actually
Yes,
that's the band they wanted for that movie, but
that is correct.
scheduling.
Yeah.
So
That is correct.
Stumble on the Ramones.
That
Yeah.
was when I said my choice was the second most obvious for this. That yours is the first most obvious choice for obviously rock and roll movies.
Yeah.
Well, it's in the title, but it's.
Yeah. I don't mean that pejorative way. I
Yeah,
just
right,
mean,
right.
Rock and Roll High School. It's in the title.
Yeah,
It is a fun movie, and that was the first one. And these are largely in chronological order, which is that's what I always do. I don't remember watching a rock and roll movie prior to that. I really don't remember.
Oh yeah. Wow.
I mean, it's possible, but I don't think so. And about that time would have been my next choice, which would have been Exit Stage Left, and this would have been released on video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hard to remember exactly when that became available, but VHS is what I would have saw on the show. I don't think this would have been broadcast on any network like Night Flight or MTV at the time. Just
I think MTV showed it
clips.
later on. Like
later.
Afterward.
Yeah, but Exit Stage Left was recorded in Montreal, March of 81.
Yeah.
I think, no, June of 81. And I can remember working at Jerry's record shop or reading Billboard magazine, and there was a little article about Rush doing their first film, and they didn't mention the live record that was coming months later, you know. But I was like, oh wow, cool, because they were my favorite band at that point. I was totally on board, and this was the summer of '81.
Same, probably.
Yeah, I was excited.
Probably.
But they actually did film many concerts for the live record, but they end up using the Montreal performance. I want to say it's exclusive for the filmed concert, and mostly for the Exit Stage Left record. And then Pink Floyd live at Pompeii.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would have saw that on Night Flight, I'm sure. You know, about somewhere around that time. And that record that's got behind the scenes of Dark Side of the Moon being created as well.
Yeah.
The following year. But that was filmed in '71 off of the Echoes record. And
I loved the desertedness of the performance, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's just amazing that there's nothing around. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
just cool, you know.
Well, I just said the Echoes record is Metal is the
Yeah.
record. Echoes
Yeah.
is the great song. But I think that's the centerpiece of the record and that live movie to me. But it's just really remarkable. Really before Pink Floyd, I think that was when Pink Floyd became Pink Floyd.
Mhm.
All the records they'd produced prior to that, even in, you know, I never really was a Sid Barrett guy myself, but that's when they started really understanding what they were capable of, in my opinion, and really formed what they became. So, and then the next one is going to be Duran Duran Arena.
Oh, nice.
You know, it was actually released, I think, you know, on a small scale in the theaters, and it was produced in a way that was really different. There's a lot of special effects, but
What year was that?
'85 is when it came
Yeah.
out. Late '84, early '85. But I think that they proved that they were a really good live band. And I, you know, as we've talked about on different occasions, you know, Duran Duran are musically completely authentic and
Yeah.
worthy of adulation.
I want to interject real quick. I saw
Yeah.
them on that tour. That was their first
Oh, wow.
gigantic tour
Yeah,
at
yeah.
Greensboro, and you
Oh, wow.
could sometimes you could not hear the music. It was
Yeah.
like the Beatles, like they said, all over again. Sometimes you could not hear the music.
It was like
Oh, that would have been great to see that.
Yeah, and I was like, literally, I was like, I can't hear the music over all the screaming.
Yeah.
And but anyway, that's my interjection. That's all. It was amazing and cool because I never
Yeah.
experienced. I'm at a concert that's super loud and I can't hear the music. So and then
That was
obviously,
a 7 in the Ragged Tiger record, right?
yes, yeah,
Okay, that came out in the summer of '83. They would have been on tour in '84.
yeah. That's when I
This
saw
record
it.
came out late '84, early '85.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say real quickly, you know, that as a young man, you know, playing guitar for a few years at that point, I remember Union of the Snake coming out. That was the first single released from that record. And I was, you know, working my first job. And it's got a very distinctive guitar sound, at least for that period, I think. It's real clean and real slinky. And at the time, I did not like it. I thought, that's not like, he had a lot of cool guitar tones, Andy Taylor, that is.
Yeah.
And I thought this was like more funky. And they were definitely going in that direction.
Oh, for sure.
And
for
I
sure.
fought that. I remember not liking it, and now I really enjoy it and like it a lot. But I remember that's the part about listening to music that I think when you get challenged by something, and this is a little bit off topic, but I think that your average person either decides, oh, I don't like that, or I love it, but they don't ask themselves, why don't I like that? There's something about this, and try to challenge themselves. And I and I'm not patting myself on the back, but I've done that constantly in my musical life, trying to understand what is it about this that everybody likes that I'm not getting.
Well,
There's
I think
something I don't know.
we've all heard things that we just, okay, this
Yeah.
is not for me. And then later on, we're like, wait a minute
Yeah.
now, I might have missed that first 3 or 4
Yeah.
listens. I'm hearing something that I didn't hear, or, feeling a different way about it. And then all of a sudden, like, I love this song,
I
I
don't
love
think
this band.
I don't know how many people are like that though. I
I think
wonder,
most,
even musician friends I've got, like, no, I don't like that. It's like,
yeah,
well, why? Why don't you
Yeah.
like it? I mean, it might not be something you want to listen to all the time, but just say, no, I don't like that.
yeah,
There's something cool about it. You haven't understood what it is. That's how I view it,
yeah.
but, I hope I'm not on a high horse, but saying that, but that's kind of how I think about it sometimes. I didn't wear my t-shirt. That's how I think about it.
That's how I think about it.
Yeah. That's a awesome t-shirt. I just, yeah. Next choice. Is this number 4 for me? I think it's number 4.
It's 4 or 5.
Song remains the same. Obvious choice.
Classic.
Watched this movie many, 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 many times and did not like it any of those times early on. I wasn't a Zeppelin fan in high school. It was only toward the end of high school that I started sort of appreciating what they were doing. And after high school that I totally understood what was so great about Zeppelin.
Illustrating what we just discussed.
Well, I can just remember Chris Smith, for example, loving them. And I just
Yeah.
did not get it. I just I don't know what do you love about it? I don't get it. It just sounded sloppy to me. And I didn't understand the coolness and all that was there. And that's one of those things where I've had the lesson many, many times in my life. Just because you don't like it to begin with doesn't mean that you won't like it later. You can't just decide, I don't like that. There's something about it that you're missing, or there's something that you need to understand to a greater degree, or whatever it is.
You're not
And
ready
Zeppelin,
to hear it.
yeah, I mean, it's just, there's so many times that's happened to me that I've just fallen in love with something that at one point I just did not care for. And, so to me, that's a valuable experience. But the Zeppelin, although I would say that movie, and I think Jimmy Page has said this, that's not Zeppelin at their best.
Yeah.
It's the night that they filmed.
The snapshot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are many, many performances on audio of the band playing at a much higher level, even on that tour. But 72, I would say, was probably their peak musically. They had this unbelievable ability to listen and improvise and stretch out songs. And 72, I think, was the peak for the band. But there were some great, great nights on the 73 tour, but this is not one of them. It's fine. It's average. I don't think there's anything remarkable about this night, personally. And I think that was the part that's what I was thinking of Zeppelin at their peak, which is not the case, But once I understood this was an average night, then I started, oh, okay. But I'm sorry, Mark, what you're going to say?
Oh, I was going to say I love and appreciate that you didn't like it however many times you saw it before you started to like it. Because when I first saw it, I saw it several times, not on my own volition. It was playing.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Playing.
Exactly.
And I didn't get it. I mean, it was okay, but it didn't put a spark in me at all.
Right.
And Chris Smith, hey, man, I love you. But if you're out there watching, Chris Smith made it so that I did not want to hear Led Zeppelin for years after high school. But, I love them now. I listen to them all the time.
Yeah.
I appreciate everything they did, progression through their career. But yeah, song remains the same. Even if you don't appreciate it musically for what it is, it's a classic film.
It is a classic film. And I would say that there's one song that I would say is the my favorite performance in the movie and on the soundtrack, and I think it might be the exception to that night, and that's No Quarter. That is a phenomenal performance that night. That's the one song that I play consistently. I just love it. I just think it oozes vibe, and it's played really, really well. And
it's
I love it. it captures all the elements that song was trying to,
before,
for lack of a better word. But
I can imagine if you're being filmed and you're playing an instrument, it's 10 times worse than, when you're sitting around playing your guitar and you play the song or the lick or the solo perfectly 12 times.
Sure.
And then you hit record and then I can't play the daggum thing, or we're going to do 23 takes to get it right. And, the next night of that tour was probably phenomenal because they weren't being filmed. There was no pressure. They weren't even thinking about it, So
not only that, I don't know if it was later after that gig or it was before. I think they played 2 or 3 nights in a row. So I don't know what night this was in those. I don't know how many nights they played it. I think it was at least 2 nights, but either the previous night or after that gig, they found out that somebody stole like $100,000 out of the safe in the hotel. So I'm sure that put them in a great mood.
Yeah.
That was all the money from the gig the previous night, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that can't make you play better.
That's true.
It's like, hooray, we just got ripped off, just played great for everybody.
Go out there and play for the cameras.
Yeah. I did love seeing Eddie Kramer backstage in the footage because he was I think the engineer on song Houses of the Holy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he had anything to do with the live recording. They may have had the mobile truck behind, and he may have been in the truck. I don't recall reading that, but it's possible. Is that my 5 choices?
Is that 5?
It feels like 5. I don't know.
Let me see here.
I wasn't counting. I'm sorry.
It is 5. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, my turn again.
Yeah.
All right. What am I going to choose for my last 5?
Do that one.
This one here?
Yeah.
I was going to.
Okay.
You can't read it from here?
I can't really.
This is an animated little film from 81, which was like probably the wildest thing any of us ever saw back then. Heavy metal.
Oh, God, so good.
Yeah.
That is not on my list, but it should be on my list. I've watched, I'm going to have to make that on my list. I love it. I watched that movie so many times.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's really great.
Exactly. It's all the songs, obviously the music and the little stories and the vignettes, whatever you want to call them. And at that time, it was just to see something like that and be a kid. It was just mind boggling. You know what I mean? And I did not see it in the theater. I wasn't old enough, but either HBO or whatever. And I remember watching it, and you got your hand on the remote because there are some adult elements in that movie, and you got your hand on a remote, and you're trying to listen if one of your parents is coming down the hall, so you can immediately flip to the baseball game or whatever else is on the TV.
What kind of cartoon are you watching?
Exactly. What are you watching?
Well, can we just discuss some of the artists? This
Sure.
was an eclectic collection of songs that perfectly works in this movie. But oh my God,
Don
Journey, Open Arms.
I know. And
Devo.
the way they used it was amazing. Stevie Nicks.
Yep.
Stevie Nicks, Blue Lamp, Devo through being cool.
Yep. Sammy Hagar.
Black Sabbath.
Yep.
Mob Rules.
Blue Oyster Cult.
Blue Oyster Cult. Still
Secret.
one of maybe my favorite Blue Oyster Cult song, Veteran of the Psycho Wars. That is a great track. Sammy Hagar, title track. The other song from this, the guy that did, Don Felder did 2 songs from this.
Yeah.
All of You and Heavy Metal Taking a Ride.
Yeah, the title track.
Fantastic. Great songs that fit within this movie really, really well.
Yep.
Grand Funk.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, yeah.
The Rigs. Radar.
Yeah.
Right up.
I haven't watched that movie. Now I got to go watch the movie.
Oh, here's the other one. Donald Fagen, True Companion.
Yeah.
Still one of my favorite songs. That one's actually
200 times.
Well, that song was only recently in the last 5 years or so made available on a collection of songs that he's got on iTunes.
Yeah,
but that is such a great song.
There were some songs that that I think Blue Oyster Cult had a song that they wanted to use, but the director didn't use that song and had them use another song.
I don't know that story.
Yeah, and there's and on that sound, I believe on that soundtrack, the new revised one, there are some songs that weren't in the movie, and that there's supposed to be a Blue Oyster Cult song that was supposed to be in the movie that wasn't. It's on this soundtrack. I don't know if it's that one you're referring, or there's another one out there. Who knows? But
if I remember correctly, Blue Oyster Cult was asked to write a song for the movie, and they wrote it, and it gave away the plot of the story they were doing.
Yeah, that's
so
it.
it's like,
right,
we can't use this song. You can't play it to promote it because then you give away the movie before people.
Well, the Veteran of the Psychic Wars was definitely in the movie. That's a important part.
Oh yeah.
Of the movie, so it's included, and and it's on the soundtrack. And I don't know if it's on the soundtrack or not. Actually, I bought the soundtrack, but they've never remastered it, so you can't really. I can't have those on any playlist because they're really low in volume. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's a Cheap Trick song. Reach Out. One of the only songs written by Pete. What was his last name? Carmita?
Yeah,
the bass player who he briefly replaced Tom Peterson.
Right.
1980, 1981. He wrote a couple of songs, and that was one of the ones that he wrote.
Yeah.
But that's I think it's Pete Comita. Comita. I think that was his name. But he was really a guitar player. He got drafted as a bass player. But yeah, that's a cool song, Reach Out.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right.
Yeah, that's an awesome movie. I love it.
Yeah, fantastic. I said that already. I'm going to go with one here. Some people hate it. I don't hate it. It's basically a concert movie with some behind the scenes stuff, touring stuff. Rattle and Hum, U2.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love it.
I love that movie. I haven't
seen it in a long time. That would be worth
it
seeing
still
again.
holds up. It still holds up.
Yeah.
I think I saw it about a year and a half ago. I've got it on DVD, and I actually love more of the songs that weren't on Joshua Tree that you hardly ever hear. All I Want Is You, stuff like that. That's on the Rattle and Hum album.
Yeah.
You know, that they play snippets of during the movie, but you never hear the full song because obviously it's about the Joshua Tree tour or whatever. But yeah, just a good a mix of black and white and color, a mix of handheld stuff and professionally shot stuff. Just a great music movie, rock and roll movie.
I did see that one in the theater.
I said, I saw it 4 or 5 times, I believe, in the theater, just because I was like, it was just at the time, it was just, wow, this is like overwhelmingly.
They were the biggest band in the world at that time.
Yeah, of course.
I think
that's
fairly safe to say.
Yeah.
Excellent concert film. And Phil Joannou put his thumbprint on there with the production and directing. So an outstanding concert film and a little vision of the microcosm that is U2 at the time.
And all the behind the scenes stuff. Yeah.
The influence of America was so pervasive. To them. They were really embracing Americana, during that period of time. There's no question. America was just enormous.
Yeah.
They weren't a European band.
Yeah.
In that small sliver of time, they were an American band. If that makes any sense.
They were so influenced.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Very much so.
Many moons ago, a buddy and I, they used to have for the kids nowadays, you don't know this, they used to have record shows. And used to go to the record show and buy records you couldn't find anywhere else, or cassettes you couldn't find, or VHS video cassettes. And my friend bought, I regret not buying them because I thought they were expensive at the time, but now I wish I'd bought them. It was outtakes from Rattle and Hum. Someone had gotten, and it was 2 VHS videotapes, 4 hours worth of outtakes. Wow. And it was shot to them like there's one shot where they're in a beach house in California and they're sitting on the deck and the Edge is playing some song that I don't even know if it ever got released. And he was singing, and it was a really good song. I was like, wow, I wonder if they're going to work on this song. And then you could see Bono like, okay, stop playing that now. it was just, but there was so much stuff. There was
Yeah.
obviously some concert stuff they didn't include, but a ton of stuff backstage, stuff on the bus,
Yeah.
stuff they couldn't show because they were cursing or whatever, or making lewd jokes or whatever. And it was just so amazing. And I wished I had recorded those for myself from my buddies' tapes, but I wish I'd have bought them so I could still have them. But it was just cool. That's another aside. I'd totally forgotten about it until you just said something. I was like, oh my God, I forgot all about that. But it was cool seeing extra stuff, and I wish they would put out a super deluxe edition and put some of that stuff in there. It would be really cool.
Yeah.
Well, this, with these days, you could put out a 6-hour
That's
collection.
what I mean.
It wouldn't be any more expensive for them, really.
Exactly.
I mean, people could digest that as they will,
Exactly.
digitally. I just want to say briefly, I just watched the Tempe, Arizona show from '87.
Oh, yeah.
Tour. I just came across it because I've been watching. I said last week I've been listening to October and the debut record, listening to Adam Clayton's bass tones since I've just had a bass. I recently gotten a bass, and I was really analyzing bass tones and listening to those two records. But searching on YouTube, that Tempe, Arizona concert came up, and that was
that's one of the ones they filmed for the.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, this is in color because Rattle Hum's all in black and white, right?
The flying shot over the stadium, and it looks around.
It's been a while since I've seen Rattle
Hum. Where the streets have no name comes in. The keyboards at the beginning. That's Tempe, Arizona. That's the stadium.
I think during the movie he says to the crowd, he's like, these guys are filming a movie, but we're playing a rock and roll concert or something like that.
Yeah.
We're playing a rock and roll show, whatever he says, but it's a cool line.
Yeah.
But that was, that makes sense that they filmed that for the movie. I hadn't even put that together, but it's really well recorded.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Looks good.
All right. Next, I'm going to go with a Clint Eastwood directed biopic or biopic. I don't know how you say it. Bird, the Charlie Parker story.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's kind of a downer film too, but
uplifting everybody.
If it's not a downer, it's not rock and roll.
That's right, but it's jazz, but it's still rock and roll to me. That the way it was filmed, the story it told,
it was rock and roll.
Yeah, I think if you got the music and you got the heart and you got the tunes, everything's rock and roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That attitude, you got that rock and roll attitude. You're just doing what you do, and if people don't like it, they can get out of the way. Charlie Parker was phenomenal. He had a lot of demons, had a lot of trouble. But if you want to know about
musician,
if you want to know about his life, go check out that movie Bird, directed by Clint Eastwood.
Just take some Prozac before you watch it, just to ward off demons.
Forrest Whitaker does a fantastic job as Charlie Parker.
Yeah.
All righty, and now we'll go to another. Wow, this is a downer movie too. It's bad too.
I forgot about Bird though. I need to go and see that.
I just realized, wow, tragic. Well, it's tragic, so it's not as bad.
I got you covered.
Oh God.
The Richie Valens story, La Bamba.
Yeah.
Starring Lou Diamond Phillips with the beautiful soundtrack by Los Lobos.
Yes.
And just an amazing movie about his life and untimely end, sadly. But that's if you're not familiar with that, go check it out. And he had a cool story, just from, and especially at that time in America, who would ever have thought someone of Latin descent, could become a huge pop star.
Yeah. Real name Valenzuela, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they changed it because it doesn't sound as ethnic as they say.
Richie Valens, that does sound cool.
Yeah. It
really does,
But anyway, brilliantly acted movie. Go see it.
Marshall Crenshaw as Buddy Holly.
Yes.
Oh yes.
John. I can't remember. It wasn't John Candy. No, that
wasn't John Candy. But
it's been so long.
That would have been great.
See, half the movies I haven't thought of. I haven't watched in a while, but I know they're awesome movies.
But Marshall Crenshaw is a great choice as Buddy Holly.
I agree.
Because he's kind of in that same vein.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. And finally, I'm going to go with everyone's favorite high school movie, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, is a
Oh,
it's
that's
not
awesome.
per se
Yeah.
rock and roll, but I think
Right.
that movie, I think it started a whole run of movies where people put songs of the day into their soundtrack to try to make the movie better. Whereas in this movie, it was a natural, hey, this song will match this. This song will match this scene, like a director does when they're picking out music. But I think a rash of 80s movies beyond that, and even now, it's even worse sometimes now, when you'll watch a movie and they throw a song in, it's almost like a promotional tool instead of like, this song fits this scene or this song fits the vibe.
Well, I'm going to give you another movie in a second that even a better example than Fast Times. And Fast Times is fantastic. That is a great movie. But there's another one that came out that same year.
Yeah, I don't think that would be. I don't think the movie would be the same without the soundtrack the way it is.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But it's so well chosen, and the songs were so well placed.
Right.
It just fit. It's seamless. You don't think about it.
Yeah.
It's like when there's an actor is really acting, you forget that that's Robert De Niro, or you forget that's whomever, Meryl Streep. You don't think about it. You're just watching that character. Whereas when someone's not that great of an actor, I'm not going to mention any names. You just like, okay, they're running their lines. You know, it's just.
Don't say Forrest Whitaker wasn't great in that movie.
I would never say that. Good Lord. He's one of the best actors out there.
2 Forrest Whitaker movies back to back.
Yes.
You remember he was in that movie, right?
Yeah, he was the big football star.
Angry football player.
He wrecked his Camaro. Oh, spoiler. But anyway, that's a fun movie, a good movie, great music choices.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Go check it out. Anyway, that's
one of the best scenes using a car song ever.
Yes.
Classic. I think that song attained legendary status through that scene.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it. Right. That is awesome.
Michael?
My turn. Okay.
Oh, can I just say real quickly what my movie is?
Oh,
I'm sorry to correct. The movie that I think is came out also in 82, I'm almost positive, is The Last American Virgin. That used songs like Commodore's O and O during this one scene. I mean, that movie is hilarious.
Talk about a downer movie.
Really, it is a downer movie. Yeah, it's dark, but it uses music beautifully.
Yeah,
you know, to frame the scenes. But that movie, I think, is probably just for the title is not well regarded, but it's actually what it is. Fine.
That movie teaches a lesson, which Phil Lynott taught us from a line in one of Thin Lizzy's songs. If that chick don't want to know, forget her.
Yeah.
Which means quit trying to pursue something and someone who doesn't want anything to do with you, regardless of how you feel. Just go on and move on with your life. That's kind of the whole message of The Last American Virgin. Sorry, spoiler. But also, Phil, I never have forgotten that line from the Thin Lizzy. And I'm like, nope, that's perfect. I mean, that's a life lesson in one line in a song.
Well, it's anyway. It's not on my list, but since we're talking about it, I think the movie that set the bar for that kind of film, showing a microcosm of teenage life, would be American Graffiti. From start to finish, excellent use of songs. It's part of the lifestyle. It's part of the existence of the people in the film. You know, just like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. You know, you're a teenager, music is everything, and that really was a great film using great songs to accent the scenes.
Before Han Solo.
Before he became
pilot of the Millennium Falcon.
Before Han Solo was a traffic cop in the follow-up, More American Graffiti.
You know, also the Hollywood Nights movie. You remember that one?
Hollywood
wow,
Nights.
yeah.
1980, 81.
Yeah, Hollywood Nights was probably kind of a ripoff of American Graffiti.
It was a ripoff. It was a ripoff. But it used movies. It used the songs from like 64, 65, that period of time, right before people were going off to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And yes, it wasn't terribly original, but it was really funny.
Yeah.
But it really used these songs of like, this is what it was like, you know, back in that period of time. And that is fun for me to watch, you know.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
this was the soundtrack to this time.
Oh yeah.
I'm just excited to have used the word microcosm twice tonight.
I love
So,
it.
I'm going to go tell all my friends, my other friends. Frank,
Well-
2014 with Michael Fassbender and Maggie Gyllenhaal. Frank is an emotional wreck, but a very talented artist. He has to wear a helmet, basically, a mask to hide himself. But he's a very experimental musician, and he's got this band that follows along. This kid who has aspirations joins the band and tries to promote the band, takes them where they're not really wanting to go, and makes them more popular. And Frank's like, I'm along for the ride. This is great. But everybody hates this kid. It all ends poorly in the end. Because
Another positive film.
Another
the kid
uplifting movie for
the
everyone.
kid takes it too far, but Frank survives in the end. He starts over, if I remember this correctly. I made this list, and I was talking to my wife about it. I mentioned Frank. She's like, oh, I love that movie. It really is a sweet film, a very funny film, zany in certain parts because Frank and his band are an experimental band to an extent, but you never think this is going to be a Michael Fassbender film, but he is really good in it. So I highly recommend Frank, and I think it's pretty easy to find online. Let's just skip over the good stuff and get the downers out of the way. Sound of Metal, 2019. Sound of Metal is an extraordinary film, and there's hardly any music in it at all. What is that guy's name? I should know his name. Rizwan Ahmed plays a heavy metal drummer. He and his girlfriend are in a band, and he slowly loses his hearing.
I've heard about this. I haven't seen it.
And he goes
I
to the
haven't
doctor.
seen this
He's like,
either.
yeah, the doctor's like, you're going deaf. You got to stop what you're doing. He won't give it up until he's completely deaf. He wants, this is everything. And if you're a musician, us getting older, you've asked yourself that question: what would I do if I can't play? My hands don't work as well as they used to, and
Right.
and my I've got one good ear. It's on this side, so
Thank
you need
God.
to speak up. But Sound of Metal, he loses his hearing, and instead of going to fix that, he goes to a commune or whatever to accept his hearing loss, and he's not accepting of it. And when he finally accepts it, he finds out his girlfriend is back in Europe, and he, sells everything he has to go and visit her to try and get her back so he can start the band over. It's a really tragic film. It's a very, there's some uplifting moments. There's some real downer moments, but at the end, he starts to accept who he is and what's happened to him. So a great movie, great performances. And, it kind of answers that question for him anyway. It's one way that, learning to deal with some unexpected tragedies.
I can't wait for AI to listen to this program and comment on our use of microcosm and the downer film.
Downer.
I can't wait to see what it comes up with in the text. Spoiler, everyone, we use AI to analyze our audio podcasts. So
Let's
I can't wait.
Let's go the other way.
About to cry. Let's go the other way.
Walk Hard, 2007,
Oh,
with John C. Reilly.
yes.
Walk Hard is, oh my God, I've never laughed so hard at a rock and roll music.
Yeah.
Dewey Cox starts out playing rockabilly, plays 60s pop, goes to folk, psychedelic music. It's the whole, the whole progression of music through the decades, and nobody survives the knife when Dewey Cox when Walk Hard parodies that type of music. Everybody is fair game, and it's just so funny. From the song Let's Duet, when he sings, I love when you blow me, sweet kisses. It's like, Just silliness. It's off the wall. It's so much fun, and I recommend it not just for musicians, but everybody go watch Walk Hard. It is so funny. It's a classic. I've got it on Blu-ray if you want to borrow it. Another good, not maybe a parody, but Adventures of Power from 2008. It is on YouTube. It was basically made for YouTube, so you can watch it for free. Excellent movie. Adventures of Power is Ari Gold. He wrote and directed, and he stars as Power. He lives in a mining town that's basically shutting down. Michael McKean is in it, of course, but Powers can't play drums, but he can air drum. And he goes to the big air drumming competition to prove that he's the best. And it's just so silly and so hilarious. And there's a great cameo at the end. I won't spoil it, but it's such a fun movie. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't get good reviews, but I loved it. And my kids, I watched it with my kids. They loved it too. It was a lot of fun. It's kind of in that Napoleon Dynamite vein.
Yeah.
That kind of absurdity. So Adventures of Power is a good one. And one extra on my list. There's so many we didn't mention, but right. I'm going to mention Woodstock. When did that come out? 1970, 71? Woodstock is, I think, the yardstick that music documentaries should be measured by, because it just shows everything in such an original way. It's just the cameras rolling on people. So many great performances, whether it's Jefferson Airplane or Richie Havens. I love that part. Jimi Hendrix waking everybody up with the Star Spangled Banner. The crowd, the unbelievable crowd that descended on Woodstock, and the mayhem and chaos. It's a really good documentary on music. It's a sign of the times. So yeah, that's highly recommended. I think it won Academy Award for best documentary, I think, that year.
I think it's the best. When you take into account everything, it truly documented that event, which was remarkable. And the financial backers lost their shirt in the concert, and I think it took 10 years before they made their money back. I think I read that. It took them a long time.
They had to make a good movie.
Yeah, the movie was the part that I don't know how that all worked out, but it's interesting that CCR was filmed for it, but they weren't included in the movie that I can recall. They're not in the movie, but there's the live concert that was recorded and filmed. Nobody was awake when they were playing.
Just imagine.
John Fogerty talks about it. Nobody was awake.
Just imagine if they hadn't had the foresight to film it.
Yeah.
And
think about the bands that did not want to be filmed. There were a few bands that said, "No, I don't want to be included in this."
That's
like
crazy.
Neil Young decided, "I don't want to be included in the film." He was there at the show.
Yeah.
CSNY were there.
Yeah.
And he's on the soundtrack, or at least on the second Woodstock 2 soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Sea of Madness was a song that he performed. They all played a whole set. To me, the Who and Jimi Hendrix and Richie Havens probably. There's a lot of performance. Santana Soul Sacrifice is classic.
Oh yeah.
But I would say the Who's performance is my personal favorite. See Me, Listening to You. Basically at sunset.
Yeah. It was a perfect time slot.
It was perfect. And as classic as Jimi Hendrix's performances, Star Spangled Banner and all that, but the backdrop is not that pretty.
6 a.m. whatever it is, it's not the best time for a rock concert.
It feels like an objective look at what happened. It's not colored by any. I mean, there's some fancy editing involved. There's some unique editing involved. But like you said, the backdrop is not pretty. But that's what you see is what happened.
That's life. Yeah, so, they weren't trying to sugarcoat it.
Yeah,
I've been to that site.
Oh yeah,
I went there 2018. 2018, I drove there early in the year, and I've got a handful of pictures. I posted those years ago on social media, but the the placard, whatever,
Yeah.
monument, the bottom of the
Take your
hill, and
acoustic
then
guitar
taking
out
the
in the field and
no, I
play.
did not. But to see the angle of the hill and how that is, and just to imagine that 49 years before or whatever it was, it's just remarkable to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to go to that site. It was a bit out of the way, but when I was working in upstate New York, I thought, God, I've got to go to Woodstock. It just seems like it'd be criminal not to go there and be to see that being this close. And I went to the Big Pink
Oh,
where
nice.
the band. I've got that actually is one of my pictures on Google Photos. If you go look at that, look up the house in Saugerties, New York. One of my pictures is there. It's been viewed over 100,000 times.
Nice.
So yeah. But anyway, yeah, fun stuff. Woodstock is classic, and it has to be said that that weekend, August 15th, 16th, 17th, I think,
Mhm.
was the same weekend that Hurricane Hazel or Camille happened in the Mississippi and came up through Virginia and killed several people. And that was where all that rain came from. Was that
Yeah.
the footage? This the terrible footage of the people screaming because their house is gone from
Yeah.
Camille and
Mhm.
that summer.
Mm.
So yeah, lots of going on. Summer '69, Manson murders,
Crazy year.
Woodstock.
Yeah.
Oh boy, crazy, crazy. Man on the Moon. That was a wild summer right there.
It was a big year.
Yeah, that would have been a. Would you imagine being old enough to kind of experience all that in real time and maybe being aware of it?
Yeah. That's
Had to be
crazy.
remarkable. It had to be one of those crazy summers. It was like, oh man, it was unforgettable. So yeah, that's a fantastic movie. I remember watching that movie a couple of times, and I was going to include that on my list, but I'm going to improvise and come up with a different one. But yeah, I'm surprised that nobody else mentioned it. But yeah, that's a phenomenal movie. But was that your last one, Mike? Or did
Yeah.
we
That
have
was
any-
his 11th.
That's my 11th.
Okay.
I was afraid it wasn't going to get mentioned, so I had to throw it in there.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to mention Baby Snakes by Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
Fun movie.
Mhm.
I think largely based on 1977 show from Palladium in New York, but really a fun show and documents what he's about. And I'm pretty sure Adrian Belew was playing in the band at that time. And I wasn't even a fan of Frank Zappa at the time, but I appreciated that movie and I always loved the song Baby Snakes, but a gentleman named Maurice Spagnola got me into Zappa. My first record was Overnight Sensation, the one that I really, really understood that got me into him. But the humor part of it was never even a concern of me. It was all about music,
Yeah.
and then I just accepted that's just going to come with the territory. But yeah, phenomenal musician. And I really think that's an entertaining work of art, Baby Snakes. I think they did a good job with it. And I'm going to mention Gimme Shelter by the Rolling Stones.
The opposite of Woodstock.
Yeah. That was Altamont,
Yeah.
December '69, 4 months after Woodstock, and really dark. I think security was by the Hells Angels.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't
And
don't
I've
use
heard
the
many
microphone
people
for
say,
security, kids.
yeah, the vibe was completely different. Nobody was, and you could just tell the movie is very dark. And of
Yeah.
course, there was, someone that got killed during the filming, and I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's good taste to have highlighted that during the movie, but it
Yeah.
was in slow
Yeah.
motion. But I don't know. But yeah, some interesting performances in that movie. I think the Rolling Stones performance is interesting, and there's some backstage footage, or not backstage footage, but I think studio versions, like of Wild Horses being recorded
Yeah.
prior to at least a year and a half before Sticky Fingers came out. So that's always interesting. Whenever you see something like Pink Floyd recording Dark Side of the Moon, in early 72, a year and a half before the record, or a year before the record comes out. You see it. You don't know that at the time, of course, but in retrospect, it. But so Baby Snakes was fun, and or Gimme Shelter rather. And then I'm going to talk about The Last Waltz by the band.
That's on my list, but I figured someone else to say it.
Yeah, Martin Scorsese filmed at that was the Winterland.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving weekend of 76, I want to say, was when that was recorded. That was their swan song, and a host of special guests, which
every special
to me,
guest.
I don't know that I really enjoy any of the special guests. I think that the star of the show is the band.
Yeah.
I love the performances and the energy that they all have. I don't think any of these special guest performances particularly interesting to me. I mean, I love that Joni Mitchell's there. I love that Van Morrison's there, Neil Young, Ronnie Hawkins. It's okay. I don't think any of it's great, though. I just think none of it measures up to how great the band were. So to me, that's just a testament to how great they were. They were really awesome. I should say Bob Dylan was there, of course.
Yeah, I mean, even when he said all the other songs, the band songs stand out.
Yeah. Oh, the performances. I mean, the songs are great because Robbie Robertson was such a great songwriter, but the performances, God, they were just truly great.
Mm-hmm.
My next choice is going to be Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders of Mars. They filmed a show, the movie, the soundtrack to the movie, and that's basically a concert filmed in London, I guess, in 70, maybe very early 73. Or maybe late 72, I'm not certain. But that's a special time of David Bowie's career. Mick Ronson on guitar, phenomenal artist in his own right. And I love where he was going at that time. And I mean, I think it has to be said that David Bowie created, I don't know, he didn't invent the glam movement, but God, he just wallowed in it and heightened it.
Yeah.
And just made it something greater than what it was. And he understood, man, he had his finger on the pulse, how to ride that wave. And it's just crazy. And he was so, I don't know. It's just a perfect recording at that perfect time for that, era. And that Alice Cooper era that I was talking about, listening to him recently, they were just right there and understood what was going on at that time. And it was only a couple of years, 72, 73, and then it went to, something else, but special time. And, Woodstock is on my list, but we've already discussed everything about it. I don't need to elaborate on it. And so that's all of my choices. And I don't even know if that's 9 or 10. I'm just going to finish it with that. I think that's enough. But
all great choices.
I think we have a good list there.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. It's these movies really hold a lot of memories for all of us, and just the best movies make you feel a certain way and make you capture a moment. These, whether they're documentaries or about an artist or whatever, but music is a powerful thing, and I think that the rock and roll movies that we've all listed all have delivered something to us and stuck with us for a reason, because the music there.
How music can enhance another art form.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's saying it way better than what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Really enhances it very much so.
Yeah.
So that's our list, folks.
I'm sure there's a lot of films. There's still a lot of films we didn't mention.
Yeah.
A lot of great films, but hey, if you can think of one, put it in the comments.
Yes, please.
And we'll talk about it later.
Put some happy films in the comments, please.
All the happy ones that we didn't discuss. And please like and subscribe, everyone. And thank you so much for tuning in. And Grant, welcome back. I should have said that earlier. And we will see you all next week. Thanks again, everybody, for listening. And we will see you soon.
All right. Be well.